Week 1 of fantasy hockey is now complete, and we didn't really want to create a video until we kind of saw what the changes were, the power plays, and a whole list of injuries. This video, I'm going to be breaking down all of the changes we've seen through Week 1 and ending the video off with some players that I think have major breakout potential after what we've seen in the first week of fantasy hockey. It's going to be a good video, guys, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Jumping right into it, we have the injury updates for this week. So there hasn't been too many, but we have some players that had lingering injuries in preseason. So we can also talk about that for the players that we do have timelines for. So Drake Batherson is the first player dealing with a shoulder injury and did not start the season with the Ottawa Senators. It was short term, and it looks like he will be back against Buffalo on Wednesday this week. So that's a big upgrade to your lineup if you did draft Drake Batherson. He's a must start when he returns back to the lineup, who will likely resume back in a top 6 power play 1 role. I think the only player that kind of gets hurt as a result of this is going to be Shane Pinto. I want to say he will be the guy that is moved off the top power play unit. He's had a very good start and is one of the highest added players right now. So just proceed with caution when making a decision. If you want to add Shane Pinto, just keep in mind that Drake Batherson will be returning this week. Chris Letang is out day-to-day with a lower body injury. He left the game. There's no real news on the timeline, but it looks like it's more of a day-to-day thing. I would continue to hold him in 12 to 14 plus team leagues. He had power play 1 to start the season, but that was with a Brian Rust injury. Now that Rust has returned back to the lineup, it looks like Letang will likely go back to the power play 2 role. But the big thing with Letang, and I still think he's worth a hold in 12 to 14 team leagues, is that he does contribute pretty solid to the categories and hit shots and blocks. So he will be likely a triple 100 peripheral player. It's just a matter of him playing the entire season. But for right now, I would continue to hold. Not a big name here with Evgeny Dadonov, but it looks like he had a fractured hand and may be out about 4 weeks. We've seen Palat jump up to the top line now with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt. I don't think you need to add Andre Palat. He's not really an exciting fantasy player. I don't think Dadonov had a lot of value or ownership across fantasy. I just wanted to note that the top line will be shifted a little bit now with Andre Palat getting the bump up to the top line. Lastly on this list here, we have Jonathan Huberdeau, who's dealing with an undisclosed injury. I did draft him last overall in the FPPL and have placed him on my IR. I wouldn't drop him. I would continue to hold Jonathan Huberdeau, who had a pretty good resurgent season last season. And when he does return back to the game, he will likely resume his role on top line, top power play. This injury doesn't seem overly serious, so I would continue to hold Jonathan Huberdeau. Some of the bigger news we have here, Vincent Trocheck is dealing with an upper body injury and is currently week to week. And this is very, very unfortunate for fantasy managers that managed to draft Vincent Trocheck, who time and time again continues to significantly outperform his ADP. And also for me, where I've shouted him out in a few videos and said he hasn't really been injured in the last 3-4 years after dealing with a pretty heavy injury career prior to that. So this injury is really unfortunate right now. Fortunately, the big bump here is going to be Alexis Lafreniere, who will be moved up to the top power play unit. He's been shooting the puck at a pretty decent rate early on so far. We have a really small sample, just 2 games for him, but still, I'm really interested to see how Lafreniere can take this role, this expanded role, and hopefully be that breakout player we've been waiting for what seems like 5 years right now. But for Vincent Trocheck, no panic on him. Just put him on your IR, wait for him to return. He'll continue to be that fantasy machine that he's been time and time again. Josh Norris, this is I honestly think one more significant injury for Josh Norris and he may retire. He has not been able to be healthy, and what we've seen now is he has an upper body injury. He dealt with shoulder injuries for quite a while in Ottawa, and with Josh Norris here, it looks like he's going to miss a significant amount of time. I just got an update prior to recording this. It said it's going to be about 8 weeks, which is 2 months. If you have the IR spot, you can hold them on your IR. But if you kind of get into trouble where you have 3 or 4 guys on IR and you need to drop one of them, Norris probably will be the guy, because we just don't know how he'll be post injury and if he'll be susceptible to it again, which is what we've seen throughout his entire career. Now, what we've seen so far is Yuri Kulich will be up to top line. I think he might be an add in 14 team leagues. I'm just interested to see the minutes he plays, the power play role he gets. We don't have updated power play lines with Josh Norris's injury, so it'll be interesting to see if Kulich maybe gains that spot on the top power play unit. Maybe they put Bowen Byram there. Maybe they put Owen Power. It's going to be interesting to see. But for now, it'll be Yuri Kulich who will be bumped up to the top line. Now, what's a fantasy hockey year without a Carolina Hurricanes goalie injury? This time, it's Peter Kochetkov, who is dealing with an undisclosed injury, will be out at least 1 week. I don't really think there's much change other than Freddie Anderson will likely get the bulk of the starts over the next week or two, which may not be the best thing for him because next week we may have Freddie Anderson on this video with an injury after, starting 4 or 5 games in a row. So it'll be interesting to see. But with Kochetkov, just a hold right now. Lastly, Jake Wallman placed on the IR. I don't know when he'll return. It was kind of weird. Like, they signed him to a deal, then immediately placed him on the IR. I don't think he's a priority guy in like 10 to 12 team leagues, but in 14 plus team leagues, it's completely fine with me. He won't get power play 1 duties. They have Nurse and Ekholm as their other shutdown defenseman with Wallman. So there are not many minutes to go around, even though he'll still be in that low 20 range and have pretty decent peripherals. But for right now, I think he's just a stash in 14 plus team leagues. Okay, on to the fun part of the video. Honestly, every part of the video is fun, but this is the exciting stuff where we kind of see some of the lines and power play updates. So the first one, Yuri Kulich here. It looks like he's going to be line 1. I just mentioned that in the last bit. And we assume he will be on power play 2, and I think I would add him in 14 plus team leagues. I'm going to quickly move on because I already talked about Kulich, but Joel Farabee here with Jonathan Huberdeau out. It looks like Farabee has been stepping in and playing a line 2 power play 1 role. Pretty decent minutes from what we've seen so far as well, about 18 to 19 minutes for Farabee. I remember 2 or 3 seasons ago, he had that first game hat-trick game, and he was the most added player across fantasy. I got maybe 30 comments on my video about adding Joel Farabee. But for right now, I think in 14 plus team leagues, I would look at him. I don't have too much interest in those 12 team leagues. He just doesn't really contribute peripheral wise for me to really get excited about him, but maybe we see a couple decent power play games coming up and that could be the time to look to add him. Artturi Lehkonen here will likely be owned across most leagues right now. I just added him in one of my leagues. I think it's a 10 team league. Looks like he is going to be line 1 power play 1 with Nathan MacKinnon. We've seen them really shuffle the lines quite a bit, but it's going to be Lehkonen, MacKinnon, Natchez on that top line, and Lehkonen as well on that power play 1. We know he plays a ton of minutes in Colorado too. Like, they roll their top 6 so much in Colorado, especially in the third period, and their power play is like a 75-25% share. So it's really exciting to see Artturi Lehkonen back on the top line, top power play unit. He's always had a ton of upside. It's just a matter of him staying healthy. So if he's available in those 10, 12 team leagues, I would definitely look to add him. Miro Heiskanen here. So we weren't sure with the Thomas Harley Heiskanen dilemma. It looks like they are continuing to play Miro Heiskanen on that top power play unit, but the Dallas Stars like to have a power play 1A and power play 1B, which really brought out Matt Duchene's potential and especially Thomas Harley's potential last season. But as long as Heiskanen continues to play on the top power play unit, he should have decent upside for the rest of the season. Their top power play is very, very stacked, arguably one of the best on ice or on paper power plays based on the skill of those players. So still a lot of love for me for Miro Heiskanen. Lastly here, we have David Tomasek. I don't really understand why they're going to be rolling him out on the top power play unit, but he did have a power play assist, and it was a pretty nice pass backdoor to Leon Draisaitl. He's going to be skating line 3, power play 1. I would only add him in deeper leagues, 14 plus team leagues, because he's an undrafted 29-year-old. I don't think there's much upside for the long term this season, but as long as he continues to skate on that unbelievable top power play unit for the Oilers, at least until November 1st, when we are expecting Zach Hyman back, I could see him being added in some of those really, really deeply. Wow, the development of Matt Schaefer in the last game has really, really changed my outlook, not only on Schaefer, but on who could win the Calder Trophy this year. So he went first game, got an assist, had about 17, 18 minutes of time on ice. Last game, close to 27 minutes with 8 shots, 12 shot attempts, and on the top power play unit. So they've already demoted D'Angelo down to power play 2, making Matt Schaefer one of the highest priority adds across all leagues. I think he's sitting at around 50%, which means about half the other leagues means Matt Schaefer will be available. I did add him in one of my leagues. So a lot of excitement here from Schaefer, who I wasn't really high on going into the season. An 18-year-old who barely played the season prior, missed World Juniors. I didn't know how the transition would be, but it's been good so far. And if he continues to play these massive minutes, they have so many strong defensemen across their lineup that they're going to let Schaefer run wild. And this team is desperate for that elite power play one defenseman that they lost in Noah Dobson, tried to regain in D'Angelo, and now it looks like they got in Matt Schaefer. Alexis Lafreniere, already mentioned him, line one, power play one, with the new updates of Vincent Trocheck being hurt. I think he's a priority ad across 10-team leagues. He has really good hit volume. He showed it 2 years ago that he has that breakout potential to score those 28, 29 goals, as well as shooting the puck. So a lot of love for Alexis Lafreniere right now. So this Philly power play has kind of been all over the place, and they have not been good over the last couple of seasons. I'm really hoping that Rick Tocchet can unlock Owen Tippett that we saw 2 seasons ago. It looks like he's putting him on the second line with Trevor Zegras, as well as the top power play unit. With the shot and hit upside that Tippett possesses, I think he's a good ad in 10 to 12 plus team leagues. He's not really high owned right now on Yahoo, meaning he could be a very good value pick if they play him those 18, 19 minutes that we're looking for. But Tocchet right now, he already sat Matvei Michkov. If you go look at his minutes, I was really surprised to see that. So we don't really know what's going to happen in Philadelphia Flyer land, but for right now, Owen Tippett seems like a pretty good ad. So we just got an update this morning. I'm recording as of October 13th. The Devils have flip-flopped their entire power play. So it looks like Dougie and Meyer are now moved up to the top power play unit. Luke Hughes and Dawson Mercer down to power play 2. I don't know why Luke Hughes has been moved down to power play 2, because he has 4 assists through 2 games, but they're changing it up. It does hurt Luke Hughes owners in the short term, benefits the Dougie and Meyer owners in the short term. So we'll see how this plays out. I don't remember them being like overly crazy about making changes on their power play unit in the past, but this is a pretty significant change, as a lot of people own Luke Hughes. Not many people own Mercer, but the Meyer and Dougie owners are pretty happy right now. So we'll see how this plays out over the next week or so. The last set of lines and power play updates, Jimmy Snuggerud has been moved down to the third line. He started the season off with Buchnevich and Thomas on the top line, but it looks like he will be moved down to the third line, still playing power play 1. I watched that game against Calgary. It looks like they're playing a power play 1A, power play 1B. And this does hurt players like Cam Fowler, Jimmy Snuggerud, some of those guys that will be more reliant on top power play duties. I would say he's a drop in 10 plus team leagues and continue to hold in 12 plus. I don't know how the lines are going to shake up over the next little bit. It's weird. They played him all training camp with Robert Thomas, and that's where I got my excitement from. But now that he's on line 3, it doesn't excite me as much anymore, but continue to monitor those minutes. And he does have a ton of upside as a former first-round pick. Now, a quick little change here for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've moved Braden Hagel up to the top line with Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. Very interested in Hagel play on that top line, but unfortunately Jake Gensel has been demoted down to the second line. Maybe they're just trying to even out the lines a little bit more. Gensel's still on top power play unit, Hagel's still on power play 2. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. We know Hagel's massive upside, but with Jake Gensel here, I liked him a lot playing with Point and Kucherov. I wanted to be seeing Nikita Kucherov as much as possible at 5-on-5, but I did see in their last game he played 24 minutes, Gensel. So it'll be interesting to see how that shapes out. So Logan Cooley back in the lineup. He was skating power play 2 in the preseason when he was healthy. It looks like they immediately put him back on the top power play unit and top line with Dylan Guenther. So really, really good news for Logan Cooley owners who were all looking for him to become that point per game player this season. And lastly, the Shea Theodore. If you watch the FPPL draft, I took him as my first defenseman, and he's not on the top power play unit. And their power play has been good. Pavel Dorofeyev came back from injury and has been an absolute machine. I bring him up a little bit later in this video, but very unfortunate from Theodore. He's been shooting the puck good. He's playing a lot of minutes still, but with him not on the top power play unit, a lot of his point production will go down. So it's kind of tough to see as a Shea Theodore owner in what I would think the most competitive league that I play in. So I'm keep looking back at that draft and saying, why would I do it? I don't know, but still, not good news for Shea Theodore. I think it's reliant on injury now for him to get moved up to the top unit, or if there's any significant changes. But this power play has not been bad at all to start the year, so I can't see them making changes. So last part of this video, I'm going to be going over some breakout watch players. And Cutter Gauthier, a guy we were really high on going into this season, a guy that was really high on last season. A very, very interesting development here. They have him playing about 90 minutes so far, and he's shooting the puck exactly like we saw last season with 14 shots and 21 shot attempts through 2 games. That game against the San Jose Sharks was an absolute, I think it was 7-6 in overtime. So every single player on both teams had very strong nights, but it's good to see in the early going that Cutter Gauthier not only has seen his minutes improve by 5 or 6, but the shot volume continues to be at that elite level like we saw last season. So really good news for Cutter Gauthier owners. If he's available in your leagues, it's definitely a guy you want to prioritize and add. So Pavel Dorofeyev, he didn't really play much in preseason. It was extremely good last year with over 250 shots and 35 goals. Starting the season off just like he left off last season with 5 goals, 12 shots, and 23 shot attempts through his first 3 games. He could be a 40-plus goal scorer this year. This power play seems to be really good off the get-go, and that's where Dorofeyev makes his money on that top power play unit. And that was my question going into the season. It's like, without Dorofeyev, who's going to be the shooter on that top power play unit? He's the only one. You got to think Marner and Eichel. Eichel didn't score 30 last year. I don't know if Marner's ever scored 30. Who else will be the guy? And it looks like it's going to be Dorofeyev. So a lot of love for Dorofeyev, who was my number 1 sleeper going into this season. So good feeling there. Matt Coronado is the third guy on this list. 3 points through 3 games. The minutes are up to about 18 per night. But the big thing here is the 22 shot attempts. Again, I watched that game against St. Louis, and he looked to be the key shooter in all aspects of the game. And it's really good to see for a guy that has massive breakout potential this season. I think he can easily elevate his game to 30, 35 plus goals this season. He's signed his big ticket, so here's his year to prove it. Lastly, Matt Schaefer. So I talked about him already, but I want to talk about him again. Those 27 minutes, moved up the top power play unit, had 8 shots in his last game. These are all huge, huge indicators to breakouts. The minutes, the power play opportunity / deployment, and the shots on goal from a defender. A lot of love for Matt Schaefer, who really has no competition other than D'Angelo, but I think they're going to roll with their first overall pick if he continues to be this good. Moving on to the next group of breakout players, Frank Nazar of the Chicago Blackhawks signed a big ticket this offseason. We haven't really seen much of him last year. He didn't have that like massive rookie season that warranted a huge contract. But sometimes teams know their players, and that's exactly what happened with Frank Nazar. I actually took him to score in his first game at plus 390 and had the first goal of the NHL season. So big hit there. But with Frank Nazar, 5 points through 3 games, playing close to 20 minutes per night. Second line, top power play unit. As long as, again, like I always say this, guys that are on the top unit and play huge, huge minutes are guys that you need to be owning on your team. The next guy, Luke Hughes. Okay, so this is going to be the change of the video. I initially had he solidified his PP1, but from what we've seen, it looks like it's going to be Dougie Hamilton right now. So it's very curious to what the Devils are doing with Luke Hughes. He just signed a huge ticket. I'm surprised he's a one-dimensional, more offensive guy. I don't know why they're moving Dougie back up there, but he has 4 points through his first 2 games. If he continues to play power play 1, maybe we see a change as soon as next game. This breakout will continue, and Luke Hughes could have a 60-plus point season. Everybody's favorite, a guy that, like from the first draft we had, he went 8th round, 7th round, 6th round, all the way to my FPPL draft where he went 5th round. A lot of love for Gunther from everybody in this community. A lot of hockey watchers are big on Dylan Gunther now. He's averaging 21 plus minutes right now. 20 shot attempts, 2 goals, 3 points in 2 games, continuing right where he left off last season as this elite goal scorer. Have a future on him for 60 points, 70 points, 30 goals, and 40 goals. So I love to see that these numbers continue to look like what they were last year. And Gunther is turning into one of the league's best shooters. If you just will go watch a Mammoth game and see how good of a player Dylan Gunther is. Now, lastly, Jeremy Swayman here. I took a lot of slack about Jeremy Swayman and the Bruins not being a good team, but it looks like he may be turning back into form that we saw before he signed that big contract. Allowed just 2 goals in his first 2 starts with a .943 save percentage and a 131 goals against average. Huge value for a guy that was taken of like round 12, round 13 this year. I said it, he's a massive discount player versus the previous years because everyone thinks the Bruins are going to be horrible. But so far, they're playing that Bruins defense like we've seen in the past, and their goaltenders always reap the benefits. So hopefully we continue to see many more good things out of Jeremy Swayman. That will do it for the Everything Has Changed video for week 1. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.